Well, hello. It looks like we're up and running. Cast. The Colonel and Kid podcast, that is. Let's make sure we get that said right away. I am the kid, Gregory L. Heitmann, Greg Heitmann. And the Colonel is my grandfather, Colonel Edwin P. Hagen Jr. And that's it's my mom's dad. Seems like I struggle every time to try to explain that. It's like I really have to think about it so I don't say my dad's mom or some mix it up somehow. Anyway, today is October 15th. It's a Wednesday. I don't know if I've had a Wednesday podcast before, so this might be a groundbreaking first podcast on a Wednesday. So we're in between. We got to wrap up the Week 6 NFL and get on to the preview for Week 7. We'll get that coming up. But this is the 7th podcast, so that means it's Chapter 7 and Chapter 7 of the memoir, the Colonel and the Kid memoir. And again, I guess I should explain that to you, the Colonel and the Kid, the name of this podcast. That's also the name of the memoir I wrote about my grandfather, and my relationship with my grandfather. So it's called The Colonel and the Kid. Of course, he's the Colonel and I'm the kid, and mostly about my much younger days in growing up around my grandfather and the lessons he imparted. And I'm hoping to try to share those lessons and impart some knowledge with you, the listener. So anyway, we'll try to get going with that. And that's today's big chapter, the Lucky 7, Chapter 7, Episode 7 too. So it's we're cruising right along. So I'm gonna have to get working on the next chapters because I have the first 20 edited and published, and they're available just on Kindle form. And it's probably a good investment to have that to go along with this podcast because, technically you don't have to have it because you'll be able to, if you watch the video podcast, I overlay the photos that I refer to in the actual memoir itself. And then I'm reading the memoir. So you'll have an audio version of the memoir. So you wouldn't even need to actually buy the Kindle version, but it's available. It's fairly cheap. And then you'd have the actual digital copy of the manuscript and the photos that go with it. So it's available if you want it. Just Google Amazon, you'll find it there if you're interested. But anyway, cruising right along. But like I was saying, we're on Chapter 7, and I have the first 20 done, and I'm doing it in volumes. There's going to be like 3 volumes, and I got the first volume done, and that's 20 chapters. So once I get to 20, I'm starting to get nervous about getting the other ones edited and done right now because time goes by so quickly. It just seems like I can't even keep up. I want to do some more podcasting and do a couple times a week and make sure I'm staying current with the NFL preview and everything. But time just goes by, and I'm retired now, and I'm still as busy as I've ever been. So it's crazy. And that's why things got messed up last week, because I did go bear hunting on Thursday, and no luck. Went out, spent the whole day walking around the mountains looking for bears and calling with my bear call, and it's nothing, no sign, nothing much out at all. It was kind of a bummer of a day. There was just not much wildlife to be seen. I saw some deer. That's about it. And now it looks like the bear season's closed. I think they hit their quota for the number of bears they want to harvest in the unit that I hunt. So I guess I could go look for a different unit to hunt, but I just don't know those other areas enough to make it interesting for me to go out there. So I think I'll probably hang up the season. We still have Angela's elk hunt coming up, so I can't hang up the rifle for the season, but I can hang up my bear tag that will go unfilled again this year. So that's kind of sad, but it's no big deal. It's just fun to get out, check things out. So anyway, I'm trying to get caught up and squeeze this podcast in between the big, the hump day. Like I said, the first Wednesday podcast, and between the update for week 6 or the recap of what happened during week 6, and then the preview, so I can give you that information. And then I wanted to again mention the memoir chapter. It's going to be chapter 7. It's called The Garage Door. So that's coming up a little later in the podcast. So stay tuned for that. And the I guess one of the first segments I invented for myself in my podcast, I call it verbal abuse. And I also call it abusive language. I don't know which one fits better, but still deciding which how I should name this section. But so far I think I kind of defaulted to verbal abuse because I have that listed first in my notes, and that's what I say first. But abusive language is still pretty good too, I think. And this week I wanted to talk about haircuts or hairs cut. Wait, I don't know if you're watching the podcast, maybe you can tell that I did get a haircut. And it's the first haircut I had in a few months. It's it looks pretty good overall. I guess I went from kind of a sort of homeless looking because I cut my hair myself a few months back. I just kind of shaved it down to just nothing. That was when I was moving. I was actually doing the move back to New Mexico from South Dakota. So I cut my hair myself because it was kind of long and shaggy and getting in the way. And then a few months went by and I said, I need to do something. I'll get it professionally cut. So I went over to my local haircut place here and had him give me a haircut. So that made me think about today's topic for verbal abuse, and that is getting a haircut. And so when Angela saw me, she said, "Oh, you got a haircut." And I did everything I could to say, I got all my hairs cut. So I resisted that urge to tell her that. And that is the verbal abuse statement that I wanted to bring up today and talk about, say that we should stop saying that. Don't use that term. It reminds me of the insurance commercial. Apparently it's a bad commercial because I don't even know what insurance company it's for, where the guy is talking about turning into your parents, and he's counseling people that are turning into their parents and how to not turn into your parents. In this, saying I got all my hairs cut. Um, Stopping people from saying that's sort of like a parent joke. So that's the verbal abuse topic for today. And I guess the lesson is, don't say I got all of them cut, not just one hair, because most of the hair was cut. I still need to probably trim the beard. But anyway, no, I'm also noticing, I guess, in the background, this is probably a new setup for those people, again, watching the podcast. And I don't know, I'm not sure why you do that, but it's just, unless you want to see the photos of the memoir, The Colonel and the Kid memoir, that'd be the good reason to watch it. But I'm in a different studio setting. This is my guest room studio. Well, it's a guest room. That's not really a studio. It's the guest room. So you can see some of the stuff that I have behind me. I have the plants moved in from the way back room, which I don't heat during the winter time. So I need to get them in from the possible cold weather into the main house where they can survive the winter. And they're pretty big and healthy. It looks kind of like a jungle back there. So makes me feel right at home. Welcome to the jungle, they say. So that's maybe a preview of the musical section, but stay tuned for that because you don't want to miss out. Maybe it is Guns N' Roses and Welcome to the Jungle, but it's not. It's not that topic today. So maybe in the future I can talk about that, but I do have a different topic for the music section. I was going to skip it, but something came on the radio and it made me think of doing that. And so I wanted to bring that up, and that's coming up later in the podcast. But for now, we're going to move forward. Quick baseball update. I have been watching some of the Major League Baseball playoffs, and I think I went on my little rant last time about baseball being virtually dead to me. But there has been some evenings where I turned it on and caught a couple innings here or there. And I did want to mention Jorge Polanco again. And I saw that he's been on a tear lately for the Seattle Mariners. They're playing the Blue Jays now in the American League Championship Series, and Jorge Polanco, former Twins. Again, I kind of keep track of those guys here and there, and he's just been on fire. He had a couple home runs in the divisional series against the Tigers and helped them win those games. And I think he had the game-winning RBI in the 15-inning marathon division final game there. So he's been doing really well, and I saw I saw that an article that talked about his home run prowess in October, and his teammates have been calling him George Bonds. Like I guess like George Herman Ruth, Babe Ruth, and Barry Bonds home run hitting. He's not a big guy. I think he's you know I don't think he's even as big as I am, as tall as I am. Maybe he's just under 6 foot tall, but he's become a power hitter suddenly, and from both sides of the plate. It's very interesting to me, and I'm enjoying seeing him do well, and wish him luck the rest of the playoffs and continued success. And then I wanted to mention too, in the National League Championship Series, they have Milwaukee Brewers and the Dodgers, and the Dodger pitching has just been unbelievable. They're up 2-0 in their series, and I think Seattle's up 2-0 against the Blue Jays also. So it's kind of been dominated by just one-sided series so far for the games. But the Dodger pitching just been unbelievable. I don't know if they've ever had anything like it. So I think the starters for the Dodgers, the first game is a pitcher by the name of Blake Snell, and I think he pitched 8 innings and allowed 1 run. And then last night they had another pitcher, and I can't remember his name. He's from Japan. He's a Japanese pitcher, and I think he gave up a leadoff home run, and then only gave up 2 more hits, and he pitched a complete game. There hasn't been a complete game pitched in the National League Championship Series since, I think they said 2001. So it's been 24 years. So that's been kind of interesting to follow, and I pay attention a little more to baseball, which, you know, something to do, I guess, in between the NFL football games, college football games in the fall here. It hasn't been too bad, and I'll give kudos to baseball for making the playoffs pretty good this year. If you need something to do, go ahead and tune in baseball. Although it is on kind of hard to find channels. I don't know. I think it was on Fox, and then it's on TBS or True TV or TNT or something. It's not your normal readily accessible channels. I mean, it's not off the antenna or anything. You got to get cable or streaming or something to get it, I think. So pretty much until the World Series, and I think the World Series is on Fox. I think they broadcast it. So good luck finding that. Let's get right into the NFL update for week 6 and recap, review. And I didn't have too bad a week. As it turns out, now the season, I am 61-31 on the year, which is 66%, according to the math. I never did the math. That was just based on looking at my Yahoo app that I pick the games on. Excuse me. And I guess that, one of the things is that, again, these are just picking winners. I'm not picking against the spread or getting points or looking at lines or anything like that to see who might be trying to get or give points for, like, in a gambling sense. And again, I caution everybody, please do not gamble, especially based on my picks. Recapping this week, I was 10-5. 10 wins, 5 losses, and I was looking really, really good going into the Monday night where there's 2 games on Monday night. I ended up losing both those. Otherwise, it could have been a 12-3, and there was a bye week, 2 teams on bye, and the Vikings and Texans had a bye, so it was a pretty good week for Greg because the Vikings didn't lose because they were on bye. So I enjoyed that. Just check out the NFL week and enjoy a non-stress of having the Vikings having to play. So anyway, let's just go through the games real quick, then we'll get to the preview and maybe dive deeper into it. And I thought it was going to be a pretty good slate. I did way better picking than I thought I would. But Eagles at Giants, and I had picked the Eagles and the Giants. That was on Thursday night, and Giants had a big upset there. And Eagles just do not look good. And they actually play the Vikings this Sunday. And the Vikings had a bye, and the Eagles had a mini bye because they played on the Thursday night. So then they've had a couple more days off than usual. So looking at the Eagles versus Vikings, and we'll get to that later. But looking forward to that game. And then in London, they had Broncos playing the Jets, and I had picked the Broncos, and they won barely. It was a terrible game. I think there was 1 touchdown, but there was field goals and safety. Not an entertaining game. Not worth really watching. I didn't watch. I think I watched the final 5 or 6 minutes. But anyway, I did get the W there. Colts beat the Cardinals. No surprise there. I picked the Colts. Chargers at Dolphins. Chargers won on a field goal at the gun. Patriots beat the Saints pretty easily. Steelers handled the Browns pretty easily. Got all those right. Cowboys at Panthers. I had picked the Cowboys, and the Panthers kicked a field goal at the gun to win that game. So that was a little bit of an upset. Seahawks at Jaguars. I had picked the Jags to win at home in that game, and I'm not sure exactly what happened. I think the Jags just could not protect the quarterback. I think there was a lot of sacks, and I'm still surprised. Seahawks look better than I guess I could imagine. Sam Darnold at quarterback, the ex-Vikings quarterback, looking pretty good, but I don't have any faith or trust in him. I think he will collapse under the pressure as the season goes on. If they do make the playoffs, I think he'll implode just like he did with the Vikings last year. So good luck to him. I don't think they've had the injuries that a lot of other teams have had. I think this is going to be, as usual, the injuries are going to determine a lot during this football season for the NFL. And going to the next game, the Rams at Ravens, and the Ravens missing their starting quarterback, Lamar Jackson. Just as I predicted, the Rams beat them, but the Rams lost their best receiver, Puka Nacua. I think he's going to be out. I think they're saying probably miss multiple games. He had an ankle injury or foot injury. I can't remember what they decided, what they were reporting, but I think they're saying he's day to day. But I think that's kind of that's hedging the betting line a little bit. I don't think he's going to play for a couple of weeks here. So injuries are going to affect them. I think they're playing the Jaguars in London, so that could be an interesting game. It is for week 7. We'll get to that. We'll pick that and predict that coming up. Titans at Raiders. I picked the Raiders. Titans are just a bad team. With their rookie quarterback, they fired their head coach. Now they're just in disarray. It's a joke. I feel bad for them. I mean, if you're starting a rookie quarterback, I think you've got a lot of issues going on with your team. So no surprise there. The Raiders got the W for me. Bengals at Packers. The Bengals traded for Joe Flacco from the Browns, and he had maybe just a couple days of practice. He was starting for the Bengals at Lambeau Field against the Packers and gave Packers a really tough time in that game. Packers won. I had picked the Packers, but it was a lot closer than I think anybody had predicted. And in fact, the Packers were my survivor team, and I was getting kind of nervous there at the end. So I did survive my survivor pool. There's only 2 of us left in that. So I think I don't know. We're gonna hang in there. Maybe a couple more weeks, hopefully. 49ers at Buccaneers. That was a pretty tough, hard fought battle. I had picked the Buccaneers, and they were able to hold on, get that win at home. And then Lions at Chiefs, and I think I talked about this game where I went back and forth and had picked the Chiefs, and I changed my mind, picked the Lions, and I changed it back, and I did pick the Chiefs to win because I thought they were more desperate, and they did win. And they looked pretty tough. Maybe they're coming around a little bit, but the Lions defense has some injuries, and I think they might be a little susceptible coming up here in the next couple of weeks. So we'll see how that goes. I think they got a tough game. I can't remember who they're going to play, but we'll get to that, after the recap here. And then we had the last two games on Monday night. Bills at Falcons. I picked the Bills. Falcons handled them pretty easily, it seemed like. I mean, Bills were never seemingly into it. They just kind of, I don't know. They just got dominated. I think the Falcons have a running back, Bijan Robinson. He's a Texas Longhorn, and he's just a hard-nosed running back. I mean, he just big, fast, strong, and I think that wears on these guys. They just don't have that anymore, it seems like, in football. So if you do have that guy and you have any semblance of an offensive line, you can just wear down the defense, and just makes your passing game so much easier because you can run some play action once you get that running game going. And I think if the Falcons had a little better quarterback, a little better talent at quarterback position, and this is a young guy, Michael Penix, I think been critical of him. I think if he's a little better, or if they had some little better, maybe he just needs more experience. Maybe he'll get better, but they could be a decent team. But I just don't think. I don't know. My prediction is that I don't think he's going to cut it at this level in the NFL. I mean, to be a star. I mean, he may be a starter, but it's a big difference between starting in the NFL and a star. So anyway, and I don't think you can be a Super Bowl team without a star quarterback for the most part. There's a few exceptions here and there, but I'd say if you don't have a star quarterback, you're going to be in the, on the outside looking in when it comes to playoffs and Super Bowl. And finally, the Bears at Redskins. And I picked the Redskins at home, and lost. The Bears beat them at the end with a field goal at the gun. So I mean, it was the first pick and the second pick from last year playing against each other, and it was sort of the revenge game for the Bears because the Bears lost on the Hail Mary last year, and it was Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels. Caleb Williams for the Bears at quarterback, and he is from Washington, so he was coming home playing before a lot of family and friends, highly motivated because of last year's debacle, losing that game on a Hail Mary. I mean, it wasn't Caleb Williams' fault they lost last year, but he doesn't play defense, he plays quarterback. But Redskins not looking good. I think they're a little sophomore slump. They had a good season, made the playoffs last year, and I think it just kind of falls off a little bit. I heard someone comparing them to the Houston Texans, where they had C.J. Stroud come in as a rookie, really do fantastic during the regular season, and then just, they lost in the playoffs, and then the expectations were high last year, and the sophomore slump came in, and they didn't do much. And I think maybe the Redskins have fallen into that similar path. We'll see. It's a long season. We're not even halfway through. But and the Vikings and Texans had to bye last week. So anyway, 10-5 last week, 15 games. Same this week. There's only two teams on bye, the Bills and Ravens. Ravens have byes, and they both need it. Ravens, again, Lamar Jackson injured, bad hamstring, so he's getting another week of rest. Maybe he'll be starting. I think it's too late for them. I think they're going to be out of the playoff hunt. Anyway, and then the Bills lost to the Falcons on Monday night, so I'm sure they're licking their wounds. They had a tough loss the previous Sunday night against the Patriots, so they've lost 2 in a row, and they were the Super Bowl favorites coming into, 2 weeks ago, maybe not this last week. Maybe some of the teams moved up, but The Buffalo Bills got to be a little, probably a little nervous, and the Bills fans probably go, "Uh-oh, here we go again." But they got to bye, they can rest up. So anyway, tomorrow night, Thursday night, week says 7 kicks off, and it's a great coincidence that we have here. It's week 7 in NFL we're talking about. This is the 7th podcast episode, and it's also the 7th chapter of the Colonel and the Kid memoir. So we're at triple sevens. This is, maybe I should go buy a lottery ticket, I guess. Maybe I'll do that after I'm done with this. And maybe it's my lucky day. Triple sevens. Anyway, so Thursday night football, Steelers at Bengals. I'm picking the Steelers, and this is again, the Thursday night games are tough because they have a short week. They're both played on Sunday, and now they're playing again on Thursday night. Typically, there's a little bit of home field advantage. Joe Flacco, again, this will be a second start for the Bengals. Probably doesn't know much of the offense yet. The Steelers don't have very far to travel for this game, so that travel, I guess, difficulty and just the effect of traveling on your body and everything else, it plays a minimal effect, I think, for Thursday night's game. So I think the Steelers will handle them, and the Bengals defense is just, I mean, it's pretty porous, and I think their good defensive end, Trey Hendrickson, I think he hurt his back. I think he went out early last week with an injury. I'm not sure if he's going to be back for this game or not, but if you have a back injury, I think it's probably difficult to heal up quickly and get back ready to play in the NFL. But anyway, I don't see very much success for the Bengals, but that's why they play the game. You never know. That's why I was pretty much saying that same thing against last week with the Eagles played at the Giants, and sure enough, the Eagles just looked terrible and Giants beat them. So we'll see. And the Sunday morning game, it's going to be in England, so it's Sunday evening for the people in London. It's the Rams at Jaguars, and the Rams, they traveled to Baltimore last Sunday and played, or coming on Saturday, they play on Sunday, but I think they stayed in Baltimore all week, practice there. So they're taking, playing over to London and playing on Sunday morning, U.S. time anyway. So I guess I'm picking the Jaguars on this game because of the Puka Nacua issue and just extended travel. I mean, they've been away from home it'll be, 2 weeks away from home. Well, I guess it's not 2 weeks. It's 1 week. They've been away this whole week, and then it'll be like 10 days on the road for them. So that's gets to be kind of a grind for traveling, I think, for them. But Jaguars, we'll see. I think the Jaguars are fairly healthy for a team. You never know when some of these injuries start cropping up, but I think they're healthy on offense and defense, and I think they can pull this one out. Saints at Bears. Bears getting better all the time. Quarterback getting more experience. I'm going to pick the Bears just because the Saints have they got a new coach. They're just sort of in disarray. They have some injuries too, I think, with some of their aging stars that they have and have had. So I'm just going Bears. Dolphins at Browns. I won't comment on this game. I think it's just two of the bottom tier teams. I'm going to pick Dolphins on the road, only because the Browns are starting a rookie quarterback. I think it's his third start, so I have no faith that they can do anything now. And I think their defense is worn down, and they had a good defense, and I think that they just cannot sustain because they're just on the field too much. Patriots at Titans. Titans are the worst team in the league, I'm pretty sure. Patriots they're rolling now. They got the Drake May at quarterback, and they got their former star linebacker at head coach for the Patriots now, Mike Vrabel. And they look good. There's no denying them right now. So we'll see. I do like the Patriots there. Big. Raiders at Chiefs. I like the Chiefs big in this game. I don't care. This rivalry, I think the Raiders have a lot of injuries. They have potential, but I think that with Geno Smith at quarterback, the guy just makes too many mistakes. Chiefs are heating up. They're getting some of their injuries healed and getting people back. So I like the Chiefs in this one. Maybe it's gonna be closer than I'm thinking right now, but Chiefs. Here we go. Eagles at Vikings. Totally going Vikings. Just picking with my heart. This one's just hoping get some sort of momentum. I'm not even sure who's starting quarterback. It sounds like last I heard, I think there was still this controversy brewing now because of JJ McCarthy's healed up enough and should be able to get in there as a rookie. Well, not as a rookie, but sort of his first real season of playing as a starter. Get back in there and get Carson Wentz back on the bench, but I'm not even sure. Maybe Carson Wentz will start this game and he'll try to play and seek some revenge on his old team that drafted him. So let's just cross our fingers for the Vikings on that one. Panthers at Jets. Panthers have a couple wins, beat the Cowboys last week, but they're playing at Jets, and I think the Jets are going to win this game only because of my conspiracy theory that the NFL doesn't want to have any winless teams out there. It's too embarrassing for the league if the Jets can't win a game. So they haven't won a game this year. I think this is going to be their win, at least one win on the season for them coming up here in this game. Giants at Broncos. I think the Giants are going to get are in for a big surprise. They can play up that altitude there in Denver. Broncos looking pretty tough. Held on to that game last week in London, beating the Jets in a terrible, terrible game. But I think Broncos at home get sleep in their beds for all week, and I think they'll dominate the Giants. I think that's going to be I hope for a good game, and maybe the Giants, if the same team that comes out against the Eagles last week, but I think the Broncos are just better. Colts at Chargers. This game, I'm just going Colts because Chargers have too many injuries. Colts on the road at Chargers, not a good situation, but for whatever reason, Chargers fans don't go to their games. A lot of you if you see it on TV, you see that the majority of the fans are the visiting teams fans. So I suspect it'll be more like a home game for the Colts out there. Colts are been on fire for the start of the season. So we'll see. I'm going Colts. Redskins at Cowboys. Like the Cowboys, just since the rivalry, playing at home. Redskins kind of stumbling around. Cowboys stumbling around even worse, but I think Cowboys reorganize, get a win against their hated rival, and just really hurt the Redskins' chances for success in the wide open East, the NFC East. So we'll see. I'm going Cowboys probably against my better judgment and against most of the people picking. Probably 90% of the country is going to pick the Redskins to win this game. I'm going contrary to that school of thought, going Cowboys. Packers at Cardinals. Well, Packers, I'm going to pick the Packers. I don't want to. Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray was out last week. I don't even know I haven't heard if he's playing this week or not. I don't think it's going to make a difference. Cardinals are just not a good team. I think the Packers are just good enough to beat them on the road. We'll see. It's going to be, it could be, I could be wrong. Could be complete upset on that one. I think the Packers are probably favored. Not going to worry about it. I'm just picking Packers. Falcons at 49ers. I don't believe in the Falcons. I think that they're a little overhyped. They are healthier than the 49ers. I think it's tough to travel out there to 49ers, and I think I would not be surprised if I'm wrong, but I'm picking 49ers, and they lost their middle linebacker. I forgot his name, but dislocated and broken ankle, both. So that was um, pretty brutal injury another brutal injury for the 49ers. We'll see if they can rise to the occasion. I'm not gonna concern myself with that game too much. I just going home team on that. Buccaneers at Lions. This game I've gone back and forth to. The Buccaneers have lost all their wide receivers. They're all injured. Now the Lions defense is all injured. The defensive back, so it's like the battle of the second string pass defense and second string wide receivers. So Lions coming off the loss against Kansas City. I'm just going Lions. And Texans at Seahawks. Texans have not looked good at all. They have to travel with the Seahawks. I think that's a Monday night game. I think the Buccaneers at Lions is Monday night, and then also the Texans at Seahawks is Monday nights. I'm saying the Monday night game up there for Texans playing at Seahawks is going to be a tough row to hoe, as they say. So I'm going Seahawks. Seahawks, Lions. I should start doing some statistical analysis of who I'm picking and who's at home and on the road and see how that goes. And we have a big enough sample size to probably distill something from that. I think I always talk about it's hard to play and Seattle is hard to travel across the country. And I don't know if that even pans out the way I describe it, if it is truly difficult task. But I don't know. We'll see. It's another good slate of games actually this week. Got some good competitive rivalry game there with the Redskins and Cowboys and Eagles at Vikings. That's been some battles there in the recent history. And again, this week's bye teams, Bills and Ravens, only 2 teams on bye. So a good slate of games. Anyway, that wraps up the NFL preview for week 7. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the reading of the Colonel and the Kid, chapter 7, which is called The Garage Door. Before we kick it off, so anyway, chapter 7, The Garage Door. And I always like to start the chapter with a quote. Quote, any sufficiently advanced technology is equivalent to magic, end quote. And that's Arthur C. Clarke, and science fiction writer. I think I should probably have a description of their occupation or whatever, whoever I'm getting these quotes from, so that people can understand maybe the context of where that quote's coming from. So anyway, on to the chapter. Let's face it, kids destroy things without even trying. It sometimes seems that just a glance from an adolescent from across the room can topple a decorative vase or tchotchke, render it into a million pieces, along with a few harsh words from a nearby adult. This is why we can't have nice things, says every parent at some point. Grandpa was a military man. He liked order, so it's quite the testament to his character and his flexibility, along with an unbelievable tolerance level, that he was able to maintain his tongue when the grandkids visited. This story of the garage door is a textbook example of child psychology. At least my interpretation of the impossibility of understanding the psychology of children. A child psychologist, in my opinion, might as well be a gypsy, a tarot card reader, or Johnny Carson as Karnak the Magnificent, because there's an epic divide between knowing what a child is thinking and understanding the reasoning of a child. I put a disclaimer on this anecdote because I had, and still have, no idea what precipitated the accusations and interrogations the grandchildren went through over this ordeal. Ordeal may be too harsh of a word. Let's just call it an event. Grandpa and Grandma lived a few miles west of Siston, South Dakota. It was up on the Coteau de Prairie, French for slope of the prairie, an awesome landform left by the glaciers that carved out the region 10,000 years ago. They lived halfway up the slope and had a nice view of the valley below them. I think about their house location now and appreciate it even more. One could sit on their front deck on a summer's evening in the shade of the house, catch your breath from a busy day, just enjoying the view. This is something the little kid cannot appreciate. And this is the first photo I have in the chapter 7 memoir. And I'll read the caption, then give you a little more description. View of Grandma and Grandpa's house from the back, looking east towards Siston in the valley below, circa 1980 on a cold December morning. This is not the chillaxing feeling you would get from the front porch on a summer evening, but still pretty awesome. So this is I'm pretty sure my dad took this picture from the backyard, looking at the back of the house and then down into the valley towards Siston. And it's a blanket of snow on the ground. Trees are bare, of course, and snow on the roof of houses. And just, it looks cold. I look at this picture and think, man, winter's coming. It's the foreboding cold and chill. December day. And I think, I'm guessing this is when, it was during a Christmas, a Christmas visit when we were there at Grandma and Grandpa's house. And we could go sledding down the hill, their backyard, and into the ditch of the front yard and stuff. So that with that snow, it's kind of fun. Not a big fan of the cold, but I think in those days I didn't even realize how cold it was, because as a kid enjoying out the snow outside, sledding on little sleds and little plastic things that they were called sleds. They're barely just a little reinforced plastic that you'd unroll and sit on and go down the hill. So it's, anyway, good times. Went back to the chapter. But I digress. This is about the garage door. Grandma and Grandpa had an attached 2-car garage. One large fiberglass garage door covered the opening. If I remember correctly, the door was very light-colored, translucent with a greenish tint. One day, Grandpa noticed a chip in the garage door. A tiny piece of fiberglass had broken away. I don't think it was bigger than a quarter. The location was not far from the handle locking mechanism, probably 2 feet from the drive pad up on the door. Well, this was too much for Grandpa. The grandkids were blamed for damaging the door. It was a summer visit, and Grady, Garrett, and I were there with my cousins, Jackie and Christy. Our ages ranged from about 12 years old to, say, 5 years old. And then I have a picture inserted here so you can kind of see the garage door in the background on a summer day. And I'll read the caption. Grandma and Grandpa pose in front of the house for a photo. Note the garage door and Grandpa's childlike antics giving my unsuspecting grandma rabbit ears. Classic Grandpa. So then this picture is during the summer or fall, I guess. It was probably fall because my grandpa and grandma both have sweatshirts on. They're standing outside on their driveway. And in the background is the house. You can see a good image of the garage door there behind them. See my grandpa giving my grandma rabbit ears as they posing for the picture in a very non-candid shot, just staged, seems like. But anyway, Grandpa, the Joker with the rabbit ears. So back to the chapter. Remember, I was not involved in any of the damaging acts that ruined Grandpa's garage door. For all I know, the sweltering summer sun could have been the culprit, populous and imperfection in the manufacture of said fiberglass garage door. That's not how it played out. It could have been that Grandpa had been watching too many police procedurals on TV during this time frame. Each grandchild was questioned separately. Nobody knew anything. And I don't think anybody was lying. Maybe the truth will come out 40 years later if my brothers and cousins read this, and a guilty conscience encourages a confession. Grandpa was on the case like a biting sow, refusing to let go once she has her teeth sunk into something. The crime was reported to the respective parents, and the old adage from adults, any adult with kids, was repeated. This is why we can't have nice things. As far as I know, the mystery of the damaged garage door was never solved. By the way, this easily could have been a Hardy Boys TV episode or even Nancy Drew mystery. That wraps up the story of the garage door. But I have a couple of subchapters to add to the tome. One is garage door related, and it was a remote garage door opener. My grandma and grandpa had an automatic garage door opener with remote controls to each of their cars. This was magic to a child in the 1970s, at least to me anyway. What kind of voodoo could invisibly open a door without touching it? I take it for granted today in my own home, but the wonders of technology were and are still amazing. Grandpa was at the cutting edge of technology as far as I knew anyway. Before cable television or satellite dishes, Grandpa had an antenna on a tower fixed to the garage. This was a special antenna that could move just by turning the knob on a control box that sat on the TV. An electric motor could adjust the antenna by rotating the metal vanes around an axis to maximize the strength of the broadcast signal. My grandparents lived in an area where they had television signals from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and Fargo, North Dakota. And I add parenthetically here that I think that you could actually get stations from Minneapolis, Minnesota, where they lived. What a luxury in the 1970s, a clear television picture. And then I have a photo here of with the tower for the antenna. It doesn't have the antenna shown on it, but you can see the tower. It's on affixed to the side of the garage, and a little cable you can see going up to that. I'll read the caption and describe a little more. What I'm trying to show here in this photo is Grandpa's TV antenna. You can see a section of the tower where the antenna was perched about 30 feet atop the structure. Clouding around in the foreground is Grandma and her cousin Arden, circa 1979. And I guess, the tower and the cable for the antenna for the television stations is really secondary for this photo. It's just my grandma making this strange face, probably giving out a yell as a picture was taken, and her cousin Arden, he's wearing like a yellow jumpsuit. I don't know, I don't know if that was the style, but it's short sleeve jumpsuit type in some sort of maize color. And then my grandma's got like I don't know if you'd call it like a house coat or something. And and Arden's kind of behind her, grabbing her arms, kind of maybe giving her a scare or something. And they took the picture. It's laughable. I don't know. Probably not the most flattering picture that they would that my grandma would probably approve of for this memoir if she was able to approve it. But anyway, back to the chapter. Another amazing item Grandpa had was his ham radio equipment. Wow, I'm not sure there could be something more visually captivating for a boy than eyeing all that electronic equipment that we were forbidden from even approaching. It's funny how quickly boredom set in for a kid, though, when Grandpa was operating the radio. First, it was just the dots and dashes of Morse code when he first got his amateur radio license. Eventually, he upgraded his license to spoken communication through a microphone. Grandpa was in contact with other ham radio operators from around the world and exchanged postcards with his contacts. He was truly a man at the forefront of modern technology, and I'm still amazed to think about that now after all these years. And then I have another photo here, and I'll read the caption, then give a little more description. Grandpa and Grandma posing behind Grandpa's bar in his den. In back of the happy couple, Grandpa's radio equipment sits hidden behind the blind. On the left side of the photo, you can see the sign that says danger and high voltage, warning people to stay away, especially children. It's got a skull and crossbones on it, too. Picture is circa 1982. And then a camera-shy Greg on the left dodges away from the photo opportunity. And so you can see me in my little olive drab shirt with brown and white stripes on it. I'm kind of like hiding my face, get out of the way for the photo. And my grandpa's got his arm around my grandma. And they're smiling, posing for the picture. And it's a classic picture that I remember from my grandpa's den in that house. And he's got the bar, really cool bar. And there's like 4 bar stools on the outside, and then behind the bar where the bartender is, there's a bar stool there. And the carpet from the ground, from the floor, goes all the way up on the side of the bar. So it's a carpeted bar. And then behind there, he's got the wood paneling for the wall finishing. And he's got one of these great classic comic or cartoon art about, I think that's the commanding officer one, and maybe I should get those pictures out and share them because I do have those pictures now in my possession that Grandpa had from his military career, and I think that he collected and had them displayed on the wall in his den. And they are very provide a lot of nostalgia for me anyway. And he's got a really cool like stained glass light above the bar. It's barely in the photo, but it's really just a complete capture of how I remember Grandpa's bar and in the den below. It is in the lower level of the house. So I really enjoy seeing that photo and sharing that photo. And then another picture of the ham radio equipment. I'll read the caption here and then try to describe it a little better. Behind the beautiful Siamese cat, Tommy, you can catch a glimpse of Grandma's radio equipment on the left side of the photo, and you can barely see maybe it's the mic hanging down there and kind of the just communication equipment, I think, for the voice part of the radio that was probably just attached through wires to the main radio part for the transmission and stuff. And then back behind the wall, it's more of a close-up picture of the cartoon, commanding officer cartoon that is just classic to me. Anyway, and then also in this photo, there's a little display box, and it's one of the souvenirs that my grandpa took from World War II when he was, I think, processing a lot of the prisoners at the end when he was in Germany, and he took a knife from one of the SS officers. It was a dagger, and the sheath from it, and he's got it in a little display box hanging on the wall. And interesting enough, I guess that part of the knife handle has a little ribbon. The Nazi symbol on there, and the display box has got a cover on it, but he's got a Minnesota Vikings decal covering that swastika for the Nazi regime symbolism. So I don't know. It's very odd to me that that I think Grandpa was proud that he was able to help defeat Nazi Germany, but at the same time, you couldn't, as time has gone on, you couldn't display any of this stuff the souvenirs they took to try to commemorate winning the war. That you can't display any of that stuff. And I know in Germany, I guess my understanding is you can't have any of that symbolism, any Nazi or swastika or anything like that. It's a crime to have it displayed. You'd be arrested. And I don't know. It's too bad. To me, it's good to have that stuff as a reminder that, hey, we won that war. We defeated the Nazis, and good for us because we basically saved the world. And I think that's something to be proud of. So anyway, back to finishing off the story here. Speaking of radios, I would be remiss to not include one of my favorite grandpa memories. During the 1970s, Citizens Band radios, aka CB radios, were the rage. Grandpa had one in his Plymouth and one in the Chevy Blazer. One day on a summer visit, Grady and I were running an errand with Grandpa. And lo and behold, we were allowed to call it on the radio. I'm not sure who got the man the mic, but Breaker 19, and we were on the CB searching for a conversation with another CB aficionado. In less than a minute, we had somebody ready to talk. A young man responded. The gist of the conversation was basically a fantasy as we exchanged some pleasantries, then signed off with a prompting from Grandpa. Gotta go. We had to put our Shelby Mustang Cobra through some paces. Our fantastical comment on the Cobra while we were tooling around in the Plymouth Grandpa used to deliver mail on his rural route brought out a forlorn response on the CB. Okay, sounds better than my car. This was an early precursor to the anonymity of the internet we wouldn't see for almost another 15 years. It was fun. Another great example of Grandpa's imagination and enjoyment of life. The lesson passed on from this chapter, as I see it, is the desire for order is natural and helps provide structure that provides a comfort. It's worth to dig down and find out what happened, but it may come with a bit of a cost when questions become interrogations. Obviously, Grandpa's inquiries to the mystery of the damaged garage door left an impression on me. I remember this from my perspective now as a learning experience, i.e., what can be done to avoid another similar incident. Another lesson for order, efficient organization is an attitude to try new technology and adapt to the ever-changing future. Don't be afraid of something new. Rather, an open mind can bring better tools to your environment. Never stop learning. It will assist you in every facet of your life. Postscript. A few years later, I stood accused by Grandpa in front of my family of the shameful crime of discovering a Playboy magazine in Grandpa's bathroom. Even though it was something I probably would have done, I had no part of this dirty magazine episode. Yet I was accused, tried, and convicted right there in front of family. Being naturally shy, I'm sure I was a bright red and looked the part, seemingly guilty. What are you going to do? Nothing in this case. You just accept it, knowing the truth and realizing life is not fair and it will never be. So ends the chapter, and to close the chapter, I always like to close with a quote. And this is from William Blackstone. I think he was a philosopher back in 1769. So the quote is around circa 1769. And the quote is, quote, "The law holds it is better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent suffer," end quote. So that's the reading of the chapter today. That's the garage door. Chapter 7 in the Colonel and the Kid memoir. Let me look and see what chapter 8 is. Chapter 8 is called The Trees. See how that one pans out in the future. Make sure you stay tuned and subscribe and like, do whatever you need to do to the podcast so you make sure you get all these chapters and get all these readings so you can enjoy them. That one was not as good a chapter for me. I don't enjoy that as much because I do remember quite distinctly being accused of crimes that I didn't commit. And you know, I guess maybe you could just seem guilty, just look guilty as a child for doing something, even though you're totally innocent. But anyway, story of my life. I didn't do anything. Or some would say, I didn't do nothing, which is a double negative, which means you did do something. I always try to be I try to be as precise as I can with the language. So I don't somehow indict myself for something that I didn't do. So anyway, maybe I did enjoy that chapter more than I let on, because it's just so funny to me how things can go awry quickly in those situations. And then just the nostalgia of looking at some of those photos of my grandpa's den. It's just, that's what I've always wanted for my house. And I've never had that. And I don't think I will ever get that, because this house where I am, it would take such monumental remodeling to get something even close to how I would picture uh, a man cave / den that grandpa had. Just don't see it ever happen. But anyway, I can look back and enjoy that, the nostalgia of those photos in the memoir. So I had a little note for myself, and I was going to plug my other books, but I put a note said next time we're going to go ahead and pass on and doing the uh, propagandizing for my other books, marketing. And I don't have them in my new layout for my new studio, the podcast studio, as I call it, aka the guest room. And I don't know if I forgot to mention this when I was first pointing out my new studio here, but I'm going to get out of the way, this long, narrow photo. I hung that up. That was my grandpa's graduating class from his officer training school down in Georgia. I can't remember where that was, Fort Benning, maybe, for, who's training for to be an officer in U.S. Army back for World War II. And I don't know how many, there's 100 plus soldiers there posing for this picture. And maybe I can get an image of my grandpa. I think he was in the front row there sitting, and I can overlay that in this part of the podcast and share that. But anyway, let's get on to the musical section. I just want to do a run real quick discussion of that, of the music update, because I am a music guy, even though I can't sing, can't play music, don't have any instrumental talent. I do have a guitar that I'm trying to pick out a few chords here and there so I can maybe play something around the campfire someday. But I do like to talk about music and listen to music, and unfortunately, I can't play the music on here because it's a copyright issue. But I will talk about it. There's a couple songs I heard. Well, one song I heard today. It's actually two songs, but they're paired together, and it's a Van Halen song. It's a cover of Roy Orbison's song "Pretty Woman." And Van Halen did a cover in 1982. I heard it on the radio, and they have this little intro part they call Intruder. So if you see it, if you want to Google this too, then and hear it, it's called Intruder / Pretty Woman by Van Halen. And it's kind of fascinating to me that I guess what happened with this song and then the intruder part, it's just a little instrumental, like a minute 10 that plays into the Pretty Woman song. And that's pretty good. I really enjoy the cover of this song. I mean, Roy Orbison does a great job in the original, but I think that Van Halen did a great tribute to this, doing their own cover. And the intruder part, this little instrumental before they get into the actual song, I guess was done because their video they did for the song was like a minute plus longer. So then David Lee Roth, and I guess maybe I underestimated his musical ability. He's a good singer for this type of music, but I guess he did played the synthesizer keyboard and called it Intruder to be able to extend the Pretty Woman song to be able to fit their video that they did for this when music videos were just becoming a thing back in the early 80s. And then I also know that one of the other Van Halen songs they did a cover of the Kinks, "You Really Got Me," and they also have sort of a instrumental introduction to the song. It said like a minute and a half plus. And because "You Really Got Me," that's a really short song, only 2.5 minutes. But their intro to this for the "You Really Got Me" song was called Eruption. So you see that it's Eruption / "You Really Got Me." And I recommend those two songs. Google them and play them on YouTube, and you'll get a little feel of what I'm talking about with these little nuggets of quality music that you might otherwise overlook. And they're both covers. So, I mean, I give them credit. I think they did justice to both covers. I mean, typically, the original's always better. And I would say they're probably better, but they do a fine tribute to these songs. So thank you, Van Halen, for the. And finally, before we sign off, I want to just talk about my latest section that I've included into my podcast, little segment I like to call "License to Podcast." These are just the license plates that I see around town, and I have some, well, from even when I was in South Dakota before I moved down here, and I'll share them in the future. But a couple that I saw recently, and I'll overlay the images in the video podcast if you want to look at them. But so the first one I wanted to share was, it's a New Mexico license plate, and it's the black license plate, and it says it's the chili capital of the world, New Mexico, USA, and it's got a little red chili and a green chili on it. But then in the actual letters and numbers, it's just a personalized plate that says "Unfug," it's spelled UNFUG, and this license plate happened to be on an Audi S4, small compact station wagon, and it's over couple blocks from my house in my little walking route where I usually walk, and I see it there parked. So I took a picture of it. I'm not sure what it actually means, unfug, if that means, you know, sort of the F word. I remember, I think it's a Christmas story when, when the kid in the Christmas Story, movie, that's with little, I can't remember his name, little kid, he wants the Red Ryder BB gun, but he's trying to help his dad change a flat tire, and then he drops the lug nuts, and in the in the show, instead of saying the F word, he says, "Fug." So I'm not sure if that's what this personalized plate is supposed to be saying, like, on F things, or it's on fug, which, if that is, I'm surprised that got through the license plate reviewers and the censors for the motor vehicle, the MVD, motor vehicle division here in New Mexico. So anyway, bad job screening license plates there. But anyway, unfug. And then the other one, I'll get this shot up too. It's mostly it's the classic car. I took it. It was in the neighborhood. I was going through on my walk through the neighborhood, and there was this really, really cool antique car. Call it antique, I guess. It's old enough now. It's a 1966 Chevelle SS, the super sport, and I think it's the original license plate. It says a 66 on it on the bottom there, and you can see the image if you're watching the video podcast. I'll put that image on. It's parked in the driveway, and it's got a 2, then the Z symbol, and 77. So I'm not sure what that actually means, but it really caught my eye because it's an old, faded. I'm not sure if it was originally the bright yellow that you might see for the license plate. It's kind of this pale. I don't even know what to call it. Maybe it's like a cream colored license plate, but it's got the 66 in the bottom. I think that's the original license plate year, along with the actual car, and it's really pretty blue color, and I think it's the original paint because I think on the back of the trunk there's some of it's faded and missing on the back, but it's really just a classic car. And I enjoyed seeing it, and hopefully enjoyed seeing it if you're watching the video podcast. Um, so anyway, I think we've exceeded the time limit again. A little over an hour, not too bad. I know we went way over last time, so I'm trying to keep it more reasonable hour because I don't know if my voice can keep on going. Kind of run out of steam myself. But anyway, again, I won't say goodbye. I'll just say see you next time. And what I wanted to say this time, and I've been avoiding it because I don't want to use the terms and then put that in your mind and then you get stuck with that. But I will say that one of the things I want to do with this podcast is try to just provide a laugh, if nothing else, a little humor, brighten your day, but then encourage you to take that positive attitude and positive action. And I'll say this reluctantly. You say, don't be passive. You make the action happen. Be proactive. Get out there. Be assertive. Be aggressive. Just take control of your own life and make your decisions. Don't let stuff happen to you. Just get out there and you decide. You do it. And I say that, with the idea that with my sign off, my 3 lines of sign off, and I recommend you imagine putting the you in front of each one as I go through them. And I will sign off this time with saying, knock and the door will be open to you. Seek and you will find. Ask and you shall be given. That's it for this week's podcast, or this podcast. Maybe there'll be another one this week. I don't know. Stay tuned. Like, subscribe so you can get the reminders when one becomes available. And have a good week. See you next time.